But the really illuminating and eye-opening thing for me and confusing thing has been this clip that I saw on social, where two of the former co-hosts of Math Hoffa's podcast sit down and basically detail that at one point Math Hoffa was getting over $200,000 per month from YouTube AdSense alone, yet somehow he wasn't paying his co-host. And I want to understand, I'm trying to figure in my brain, why is this so common within black urban podcasts? Like, why is it so common for people to not pay their friends, to not pay their co-host, to not pay their staff, to not pay people who are helping the success of the show? Why are so many people in this space so greedy and so resistant to paying people for their time and making everything seem like it's okay to do it for free? It's okay to do it just on a vibe. Like, what is the problem? Because this is also something that happened in the Joe Budden podcast, and that ended up falling, when they ended up falling out with the Rory and Moore and shit and other pods. I've kind of noticed a pattern with urban-based podcasts where, for whatever reason, if you're not the main star, if you're not the main person on the show, you're just fighting for scraps, and you have to really fight for it. Like, the person who runs the show doesn't go out their way to help you, or doesn't go out their way to kind of, to hold you down, or to make sure you're all right, and to make sure you don't even have to ask in that regard. I don't know why it's like this, but this is Esso, formerly of Math Hoffa's podcast, talking about how much Math used to earn and his reluctance to give the guys their equal share.
Is Gully, nobody was getting paid. Okay? Then let's talk about that. Niggas wasn't getting paid, and I'm gonna say this: nobody was getting paid except Space Ghost.
That's it.
All right. When I was the first nigga that niggas knew they had to pay. Niggas had to pay me, nigga. Yeah. And I was calling him saying, "Yo, niggas gonna pay me. So you gonna tell them to pay you, or I'm gonna just take my money and I'm gonna split it with you because we a team."
Right.
But when you speak to this nigga, you tell this nigga he got to pay you.
And I don't know about you, maybe because I put too much value on that word friend or whatever. But I think if you're working with your boys, if you're working with your hammies, as Duno would say, surely one of the perks of it is that you get to pay your friends. Like, one of the greatest things I remember doing when I was coming up in the scene, when I was running my own nights, was the feeling of paying your friends. That was so cool. When you pay your friends to make a flyer, you pay your friends to DJ at a party we're doing, you might pay your friend to do the door for you. That was such a good feeling to have some money and put some money in your friends' pockets. Because, you knew how hard this hustle was in this creative field. And if you could give them a little £10, a little £50, a little £100 here and there, you felt really good about it. And also you got to kind of, hire them for their skills, hire them for something that they want to do professionally, maybe in the future some way, especially in terms of their dream job. And I also think if that's your friend, if that was me, if that's your friend, I don't feel like you should put them in a position where they have to ask you, where they have to kind of pull you to one side and have some sort of meeting. You should already be approaching them with an offer of like, hey, thank you for holding me down in the beginning while I was working on this and was grinding. Now we're in a position where things are going well. I want to kind of reciprocate that and kind of show how much I kind of love your support and stuff. And obviously make sure that you're here to help out in general going forward. So I want to work out some sort of compensation pack, some sort of payment structure, whatever it may be. So you go to them. I think the feeling, it must feel so shitty if that's your friend, so someone you've been holding down, working down from the beginning, and you have to kind of go to them to request the money, Really, they should be coming to you. It's good if you do it anyway because you get the money sorted in one way or the other, but it must feel really shitty to be an integral part of the show and to have to like beg and plead for some level of, pay to kind of, illustrate how much you mean to the show or whatever else it may be. It's kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie.
Nigga, once I got paid, once I had to get paid, everybody else got paid. That's the hatred.
How long into the show was people not being compensated?
All the whole time, nigga.
Wow.
Nobody got paid but me first, nigga.
How the fuck did that work out?
because niggas didn't know that niggas was getting money, but I knew because I was getting paid from my other YouTube show that wasn't even getting the hits he was getting. Yeah. And they.
So that's the really crazy part, right? That's the really, when you think about it, like it makes you think why people take, when I hear these sort of stories, I guess for me, let me just rewind. For me, the issue here is that I'm always whenever I think of these stories, whenever I hear these stories, the first thing that comes to mind is like, isn't this a shame? Because a lot of these people that are the host of these popular urban black podcasts, from my knowledge, are people who have come from the music industry, or people who had aspirations of being in the music industry, or being an artist, or being a manager, whatever. It didn't work out, right? So the next best thing is to be able to commentate on this thing, right? It's kind of like me, right? I don't have a brand, I'd love to have a brand. I don't have a store. I don't have a club. I don't professionally DJ, but the best thing to do apart from that is to just sit on the sidelines and commentate on the shit that I see online about those topics that I kind of am interested in. So that's the next best thing. You don't get to be on stage. You unfortunately can't be fucking, what's its face? You can't be Drake's manager, but at least you can talk about the new albums. You can pontificate about people's relationships here and there, get some hits, make some money, and kind of feed your family. So that's kind of cool. And you also get to avoid all the shenanigans, all the fugazi business, all the skullduggery, all the scumbaggery that's involved in the music business, right? But when I see things like this, or when I hear sentences like that, it makes me think, this is why those music executives get away with murder. This is why they take advantage of people so much, because people don't know. So unless you had a YouTube channel yourself, because think about it, right? Like the regular guy from the hood, the regular guy from ends, who maybe is, of these guys' age, maybe a bit older, what would he know about Google AdSense? What would he know about getting paid from YouTube? He wouldn't probably know much about it. He'd probably think it all comes from, I don't know. He wouldn't have any understanding of it unless he's got his own channel. So then you jump on this show, which with Matt Hoffa, you're one of the co-hosts for it. You're doing well because you're on it and it's getting views and stuff. People are recognizing you, but you have no concept of how those clips that you're involved in generate income for the person that owns the channel. So you're in no position to even bargain because you don't have the information, So a lot of this shit, a lot of this scamming is kind of done because the people don't have the information. But once they have the information, you can't fool them again. But they don't have the information in the beginning, so you can kind of lie, which is also kind of crazy, to be honest. To do that to your friends, to do that to people that look like you, to kind of go out of your way not to tell the truth about how much you're making, or to be transparent about where the money's coming from, what the expenses are. That's kind of scumbaggery, I'm not gonna lie. So it's fortunate that Esso had his own channel, so he could kind of, think, okay, if I'm getting this amount for this views, he must be getting this amount for that views. And it's also funny that he probably never saw the back end anyway, It's a common thing you see with all these guys. They never get to see the back end. But then the person that owns a pod is always quick to complain when the streaming platforms are giving the back end, Joe Budden being a good example. Joe Budden refused to give Rory and Mo a detailed accounting that they were asking for, because they thought Joe Budden was stealing from them or not giving them what they were owed. But then when Spotify, when Joe signed the podcast to Spotify, the thing that he complained about the most was the lack of insight he was getting in the back end about how well the pod was doing on their platform, so he could, negotiate from a strong position. Funny that.
They were paying me already. Yeah. So when a girl, I'm going to say Mandy from Mandy Folklore Pumps called me when I was on set, and she didn't know me, and she asked me some number, and she said, I want to start a show with you, and I'm going to pay you. And I was like, pay me? And I showed it to Heineken. This started everything. We was on set. I said, look, Heineken. And Heineken didn't play it cool. He's like, oh, word? Oh, word? Oh, word? Oh, God. And Matt was like, what is that? And Heineken was like, look, they trying to pay him. Yeah. And all my...
That's crazy. All it takes is one person to show you the analytics on the back end and to show you how much money these pods actually make, for you to suddenly finally realize that, hey, your guy is scumming you. Your guy is doing you dirty. It shouldn't have to get this way. You shouldn't have to get information from other people. Your friends should be able to kind of hold you down, or to kind of act, come to you and basically let you know, hey, this is what I think of your contribution. And you can kind of negotiate from that position. But this is absolutely insane.
On way to go meet her, he called me.
That was your first time seeing the analytical page?
No, he didn't see it yet.
I didn't see it at the
He didn't see it until after the nigga wasn't paying us, nigga. How about that?
You didn't know about that?
He showed it. He let him see it on some cocky shit. Like,
he didn't, my mind. And I looked at him like this.
Let me tell you something.
I called them niggas.
After this, I'm not even saying nothing else. Right. His biggest mistake.
The whole analytical thing.
Listen, the whole analytical thing. This is the most ironic part of the whole shit. Everybody was now worried about the money he was making. And they was coming to me because I was the first nigga getting paid. I was like, I don't care how much money he's making. We have a deal with him.
Yo, big up Cases Moses in the chat. I really think Matt spent his generational wealth on Avirex jackets and fur coats. I don't even mind, bro. I don't even mind. It's hilarious. I don't care. Spend all your money on fucking Nike boots, fucking Avirexes, Timberland boots, whatever. Just pay people, man. It's not difficult. Just pay people. Like, what's so hard about paying people? Especially in the podcasting world where over time, because you work together so long in content creation, yes, you may be just co-hosts and colleagues, but over time you become friends. You become quite close to these people. You know their families, you know their kids, you know their partners, their wives, their girlfriends and shit. Like, help them out, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Why do they have to come to you begging and pleading? Why should they come to you on their hands and knees asking for money when you're already making $200,000 a month allegedly? Like, I don't know, man. And plus, I remember when I was doing my parties and organizing my raves, part of the thing as well of paying somebody was that it kind of gave you a reason. It kind of gave you a place to say, hey, you have to be here at this time, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but I would feel terrible. Like, I would feel like I have no right to demand anybody to be anywhere at any time for me if I'm not paying for their time. But if you pay for their time, you can say, hey, could you be at the club at this time? Could you make sure you're here for sound check? Could you make sure this? Could you make sure that? You can do that because you're paying them. But if you're not paying them, what right do you have to demand them to be somewhere at some time? It makes no sense. But these guys do. And imagine you're getting your hair braided, you're getting a haircut, you have to put on a fly outfit, you have to buy some chains, a hat, a this, a that. It's all expenses. Like, maybe your transport back and forth home, wherever you have to eat that day. Like, and you're not paying your friends, you're not paying your colleagues, you're not paying your co-hosts. Even if you're just doing it on some like greeting, which I also think makes sense. Imagine you just pay your friend just on some greeting because you want to continue making 200 grand per month. That's a good thing too. You pay them so that they can continue performing or giving crazy hot takes on your pod. Then that will lead to more views. That will lead to more money in your account. Why not? This whole hoarding the wealth all for yourself thing is so bizarre, especially on a show where essentially the basis of that show, Matt Hoffa's podcast, was that it was like everybody contributed to the success of it. It wasn't just about one person. It was in a fucking barbershop. If you've ever been to a barbershop, you know part of the fun of hanging in a barbershop is all the random conversations you're having with different barbers. Even when you're in a chair, you might be having a conversation with all four of the barbers that are in that shop, plus whoever's sitting waiting, plus whoever's in the seat themselves. So it's not only about one person. So for that one person who kind of owns a show to think it's all about them is kind of crazy.
Supposed to pay us this. As long as he pays me my money, I don't care. Why? Because Gully, I'm not a content nigga. Yeah. I said, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to go put this with my other money and with my other money and with my other money. And this is gravy. I'm selling capsules right on the platform. Yeah. So I'm selling clothing capsules and selling.
We know what he's talking about. We know what he's talking about, putting money in other money. We know exactly what he's talking about. Big up Esso, but you're speaking a bit too much, brother. You're speaking a bit too much, but I know what you're speaking about.
Selling 200 pieces in a week, $200. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm gravy, right? So I'm making the money, I'm chilling, and for some reason he takes this nigga out with him, right? Mm-hmm. Takes this nigga, he owes us all money at this time. Yeah. Everybody owes money. He chose to take a Haitian shopping, okay? And to show a Haitian nigga, look at all the money that I'm making. He would have been better off showing me because I was like, I don't give a fuck if you're making.
That's kind of wild, isn't it? That shows a real lack of self-awareness. Showing somebody that you're not paying all the money you're making is crazy, but I've seen it happen. It's like when I remember back in the day, there'll be some times where you go out and you go to eat with people and they will go out their way to like to order loads of shit, but not get you anything. Not that you're entitled to anything or you should expect anything, but still, they'll be like eating it and enjoying it. And really kind of having the fun with this shit, and you got nothing. It's like, all right, cool, bro, no worries. I see how this shit is. And that same person is the same person who, when you go to eat something or when you go to order, they're the first person to say, hey, can I try that? Can I get a bit of that? Can I this? Can I that? It's like, bruh, I'm not expecting a handout, but you can't be ordering 17 fucking starters and 8 main courses. And then when I order one little thing, you want to grab a couple fries. You want to grab a couple bits of calamari. You want to have a bite of this. But come on, man. Do me a favor.
$200,000 a month and you owe me $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Crazy work. Crazy work. Crazy work.
I don't care because I'm making my money. This nigga was like, oh no, oh Esso, yo, this nigga's making $212,000. I said, $212,000 what? Dollars a month. I said, what? He said, nigga. I said, I don't care. This weird. I said, I don't care what he's making. I don't care.
The reason why I cared though, right? It's not about how much. It's that he was finding ways not to pay us.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing too I was about to say. I don't think it matters how much he makes. Like I don't care. I'm not here to pocket watch anybody in how much they make in totality. The issue that I have with these type of things is why does it seem to be that all of these urban-based podcasts seem to have an inability to know how to accurately or even fairly pay people? Or just compensate them flat out. Like, remember those Back on Fig dudes? Those guys who are associated with No Jumper. They had a falling out with No Jumper, which wasn't based on pay, to be honest. To be fair to him, wasn't based on pay. But those guys, AD, T-Rail, Duno, all those guys kind of left No Jumper essentially because of how Adam treated AD and how Adam treated House Phone, kind of, right? They all went off and did their own thing. They all went off and started Fig Community World. They started Back on Fig. They started Ace Boys. They started Community. They all started their own little thing. And then after that, after they started their thing, they had another fallout within their own group where people were complaining that they weren't getting paid. And I was thinking to myself, like, if you're T-Rail and you're inviting people, or you got co-hosts on your show, like, I don't know, Macwop at the time, and he's co-hosting your show, he's one of the third mics. It's basically, you know, what you call it, T-Rail and Smack, and then Macwop hosting a show originally when it was Back on Fig, right? And they're kind of doing well. Regardless of what Macwop's relationship is with the wife, in terms of, I forgot her name again, but whatever his relationship was with the wife and how that was a bit frictious, surely giving Macwop $100 or Keem and those type of people $100, putting $200 in people's pockets every time they come on the show should be nothing really as a fee. And the fact that they had to bring it up, they had to argue about it, it became a topic of conversation on every stream, on every pod, was hella embarrassing, I think, for them. That they left the white man in Adam, who paid everybody, by the way, right? Although he's a piece of shit and he's obviously not somebody you want to work with in terms of Adam 22, I never heard people complain and say Adam didn't pay. Adam definitely paid everybody. Everybody on No Jumper got paid. So it was kind of wild to me how these very same people went to do their own shows, but then refused to pay their friends, even $100. Like, what? Or I guess what they paid them in was like weed and Ubers and shit. It's like, nah, man, I need money. Like, I'm a big believer in that. Like, even if you have a friend who's like a landscape gardener, a friend that's a carpenter, a friend that's a chef, a friend that's an electrician, all of that paying people in drinks and food, fuck with that shit. Give me money. Yes, I'm not, maybe not pay me my rate because I'm your friend and I'm not gonna charge you that much, but give me money. Give me $100. Give me 50, give me money. Money is the answer to all things. I don't need your fucking bottle of wine. I don't need a fucking gift voucher to Amazon. Give me money. Give your friends money. That's what you should be doing without them asking, especially if you're going to use them for their services, skills, or talents.
So I'm sitting there like,
the ball hog.
You're paying us peanuts. You're making what people die to make for a year in 29 days.
Yeah.
So if you take that in 5 months, that's $1 million.
Niggas didn't believe us that he was making $200,000.
But then you're like,
niggas couldn't believe it.
And then you're like,
niggas,
I can't pay you this month.
Niggas was looking at us like $200,000. What are you talking about? This dumbass nigga saw it, and he.
And again, it doesn't matter if it was 200,000, 200 million. Just give me something, man. Give me something. But to be fair, though, the same person that can't give you $10, this is the problem that you're going to run into, though. This is the problem that you're going to run into. If you're one of those people who kind of likes to work for your friends for free, doesn't mind if your friends ask you for help and you just help them out because you're just a good friend, and you don't, or you're somebody that feels uncomfortable about talking about money, like how I used to be, which I'm not anymore. Something that I've done continuously throughout all my jobs. I've always been very kind of stern and strict about negotiating my salary, because I remember the pain of that one time where I was working as a social media manager at this company. And I don't know, oh yeah, that's how I found out. I went to a pub randomly. So I went to this pub and then I bumped into a girl who was working at that job before I got it. Right, the girl that was there before me, I didn't even know. It was some random serendipitous sort of thing. Like, I think God put that girl in my way. I started talking to her, and randomly we started talking about a job. And in that conversation, and if you know anything about the UK, you'll know that people in England don't like talking about money. Don't like talking about their salaries. So somehow that topic came up, and she basically said to me, yeah, I was making 32,000, but it wasn't enough, so I moved. And I remember sitting there with my fucking Heineken thinking, hold on, you said you made 32k at this job, and I just accepted it for 26. My heart sank. My heart sank. My heart fucking sank at that moment. I was like, hold on, this girl who, you know, lovely girl, don't get me wrong, but she didn't seem like she was that smarter than me. She didn't seem like she had incredibly way more experience than me. But she was making 32,000 at this job, and I accepted it for 26. That's the day that I thought, okay, never again am I doing this. Never kind of having conversations about salary and shit. But the problem I was going to say is that if you don't mention, if you don't put a stop to this sort of behavior, like because these guys didn't tell Math Hoffa to give them $100 when they were first getting started, when the views weren't that high, it's then difficult for that person who wouldn't give you 100 to give you 1,000, because 1,000 of 200,000 is nothing really, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. But if he couldn't give you $100, it's unlikely he's going to give you 1,000. So if you don't speak up for yourself early, you're not going to get anything later. That's the unfortunate part of it, because people are then, you know, have their habits. You're maybe used to working for free. They're used to not paying you. It's going to be very difficult.
You gonna let this nigga see it and call me? Yeah. And I'm the one calming him down. This is crazy shit. Yo, calm down, bro. Calm down. Nah, bro. I seen it, bro. Yo, bro. Yeah. As long as he pay us, yo, bro. He stopped paying us. Heineken, I said, we got an agreement. As long as he pay us. So instead of paying Heineken his money, he takes him shopping, buys him Jordan. And clothes and all that. You know what he's trying to do? He's trying to turn him against me. So, you know, I said, yo, I'm cool. So I said, if Heineken is this fucking dumb to go against a nigga that's going to make sure he gets paid for a nigga who's not paying you and buying you clothes, I said, he's treating you like a cold stone bitch. Yeah. That's what he's doing. You know what they do with they bitches? I'm not giving you money, bitch, because you're going to go spend it on a nigga you really like, bitch.
But if niggas know, no matter what you do, if you're not gonna give a nigga money, but you're gonna give him gifts, a nigga gonna know this is bullshit. So I'm sitting there like,
I know that niggas, content niggas.
No, but let me ask you something. Did that shit work though?
It worked on many other niggas.
No.
Okay, so you get a gist of things, and I don't know. I mentioned big up my guy. Who said this in the stream chat? Big up. A bit Young Advice, welcome Young Advice, welcome Thomas Hoeing, welcome God's favorite. Yeah, big up God's favorite, big up Black American to the stream chat. Kato Moses, I see you. Elmi, I see you. Wagwan, Wingus Dingus, Wagwan, GG. Big up everyone in the stream chat, but big up my guy, God's favorite. Not trying to be that guy, but why is it always when it comes to the cultures, quote unquote, podcast, blacks basically saying, is it always some money BS behind the scenes? Budden, Math, dudes that left no jumper, or maybe they're always the most vocal when the drama happens. And that's what I'm getting at, brother. That's what I'm getting at. What is it about us black people? What is it about us black folks that we do this to each other? Like, because this is just cruel. In my opinion, this is cruelty. This is almost bordering on being evil. When you're making money doing something with your friends, but then you don't bust it down with your friends, that's kind of cruel. Because I think back to the times when I was in ends growing up, when one person, remember those days when one person would have a sandwich or one person have a bag of crisp and you're all busting it down as a group of friends. And then when you're all up, guess what? You're all contributing and helping each other up. Or when someone's down, you're making sure that they're up, and all those type of things. Or even when you go on holiday, somebody doesn't have money, you help them out with this. You don't say anything of it. You keep it sly. You don't talk about it too much to everybody else. You kind of keep it to yourself. I mean, like, I love that sort of shit back in the day, but I wonder, maybe that's not the thing. Maybe those same guys, because I remember back in the day, like, you know, sharing a fucking chicken meal with people. You know what I mean? You're busting down the chicken and chips and stuff, and you're all eating together. And then later on, if that person gets something too, they kind of pay it back because they knew you helped them out at that one time. But maybe that era, maybe that type of person doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the world that we're living in now is a dog-eat-dog world. You get what you can get out of it. You know what I mean? There is no busting anything down. You try and extract as much value as you can from every situation. If you can fuck somebody over, you fuck them over. You know? Maybe that's why we live in. Which I don't like personally. I don't like that society. I don't like that place that we're in. And I think it's way sadder. I think it's made sadder because podcasting is like the new industrial revolution, especially for black folks, right? I feel like podcasting and content creation has become the new industrial revolution. It's given people who probably had no other way out of escaping the drudgery of like working a 9 to 5, the opportunity to make incredible bits of money, or to maybe work on their own schedule, to support their family, to maybe get into spaces they would never be before. Joe Budden being a good example, right? He was a bit of a meaty rapper, career-wise anyway, and suddenly the podcast blows up, and now you're in different spaces, you're interviewing certain people who you would have never had access to as an artist, but you have access to them because of the pod, right? And if, in my opinion, if that's how your career's gone, you then owe the people who have allowed you to have that access to those people, who have allowed you to have that lifestyle where you can go to strip clubs every day, where you can drive Ferraris and Rolls Royces and shit. You owe them a bit of payback, you know, because they've helped you achieve your dreams in a way that you probably never thought you would be able to achieve them in. But for some reason, these content creators, podcasters, streamers and shit, especially some of these older, I don't think it's the younger folk. I think some of these older folks, like, they're so greedy. They're so selfish, you know? They don't like to share, and it makes and I don't even like to use the word share, because share sounds wafty and gay and shit. I mean, just like pay people, like they're contributing to the success of the show. They're a part of the team. It's not only about you. Like there are some shows where it's all about one person. Maybe my shit being a good example, but most successful shows are based around a group of people. You know, a team of people who are all contributing to the success, whether it's planning, producing, clips, being a fucking talking head, adding bits behind the scenes, whatever it may be. And they should all be compensated so that the show can continue growing. Especially if it was me. If the show is booming, I want to make sure I'm paying these people who are helping it boom, because I want it continue to boom, you know? It's pretty simple. But for some reason, people don't want to do that. I don't know why. It's pretty weird to me. It's pretty weird to me. Big up everybody in the stream chat here. Why doesn't anyone have a contract? But again, it doesn't. I don't think you need a contract in these type of things. Yes, it's beneficial, to be honest, but I still think there should be like a common courtesy, decency, just respect amongst each other to be like, yeah, you helped me. Remember when we were recording this out of your fucking cupboard? Remember when we were recording this in your garage? Remember when we were recording this in your spare room? Remember when we were recording this in fucking internet cafes, in gardens, you know, in rinkety studio spaces. Now here, and like, I don't know. I just think it's an odd thing. I think it's an odd thing that it seems to be a pattern amongst all these podcasters. And the really sad thing about this is that the Math Hoffa podcast was way stronger than all of these other guys' shows. So even though I love, you know, I like how Esso and Heineken speak. You know, I'm not really going to check out their pod, Bag Fuel. Maybe if they've got a guest on that I like, I might check it out. Math Hoffa's show by himself now, reacting to stuff online, I'm not going to check out what he's got to say. Unless something goes viral with it, I don't give a fuck. So the bad thing about the breakups is that they all end up negatively affecting each show. Yes, they're going to do their own thing, but it's made weaker because they were all better together. They were better together, even with the weird dynamic. They were all better together, but now they're separate. It kind of makes the show diluted. It's kind of similar to like Joe Budden and Rory Moore. Yeah, I listen to Rory Moore. I love that pod. I still listen to it from time to time, but it doesn't come close to touching what magic they created when Rory and Moore were on the Joe Budden podcast. But they broke up with, or they left Joe Budden podcast because they felt as if, you know, the accountant wasn't correct and Joe was maybe stealing money or not paying them correctly. And now all shows have been negatively affected. The Joe Budden podcast isn't as good anymore, and the Rory Moore podcast isn't as good because it's not with Joe Budden. So if you just would have paid people what they owed, you could have kept the team together, and then the fans, the listeners, get the best type of content. They get the best level of content, you know? It's not that difficult really, but maybe it is that difficult. Who fucking knows? Big up Esso and Heineken.